You are now tuned in to Mainly Unbiased, the podcast that's straight talk, no chaser. Want sports? We got it. Want lifestyle? We got it. Want news? We got it. It's the only place where hot topics meet social media. We give the good, the bad, and the ugly truth.
Let's go!
Anything else wouldn't be unbiased.
Yeah.
You tuned in to the Mainly Unbiased podcast. I'm your host, Ant Gates, and we got a burner discussion going on around the internet about who was the greatest, LeBron James or Michael Jordan. So what better way to start off this podcast by getting into this nice debate? Again, I'm a Jordan fan, so for all you guys who didn't get to see Jordan growing up, there's a reason why I'm a fan, and I want to go through my top 9 reasons why I think Jordan is the GOAT. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The first and probably most evident reason why I feel like Michael Jordan is the GOAT over LeBron James would probably be because of the clutch factor. And when I say clutch factor, I know LeBron James has hit a few clutch shots over the last couple weeks. But what I mean by clutch factor is having the ball in your hands when it counts, meaning a lot of LeBron shots, if you look at over his career, come when the game's tied. And if I miss, I go to overtime. In Jordan's case, a lot of his baskets really came when they was down, like the shot where he double clutched in the air over Craig Elo. I mean, if he missing that shot, the game don't go to overtime. The Bulls go home. So if you look at historically, a lot of the baskets that Jordan made when it was winning time, it was actually the Bulls were down 1, the Bulls were down 2. And the theme that I see with LeBron James is a lot of his baskets come when they not necessarily down, the game's tied. So it's a comfort factor there, meaning if I miss this, we still go to overtime. So I look at that, and I also see LeBron has a tendency to, if you notice in big games, when they're down, he makes the right basketball play. But when you're the $100 million guy, you got to make the basketball play yourself. Even if it means you got a wide open teammate, you have to look to make the play, and a lot of times he defers a lot. And don't get me wrong, Jordan's passed the ball to Paxson, B.J. Armstrong, and Kerr. One thing you got to understand is a lot of their baskets came while Jordan was battling back and forth with the other team or the star on the other team. They score, he scored, they score, he scored, and eventually, of course, somebody else is going to get a shot. But with LeBron, it's almost calculated. If the game's tied or if they're down, he doesn't want to be the one to lose the game. And I think that's the difference between him and a Jordan, is Jordan really didn't care about losing the game. His mentality seemed like, give me the ball, get the hell out of my way, and let me take this shot. And I make enough of these to feel like I'm going to hit this game-winning bucket. But it's just almost, with LeBron, it's the opposite. You don't see that coming out of the huddle, coming out of the timeout. You don't really see that same mentality from LeBron. You see somebody trying to make the best basketball play. And a lot of times that means moving the ball to a shooter who's open in the corner. Not to say that that's a bad basketball play. It's just more so a bailout play and not a hero play. Meaning, if I'm paying you $100 million and if you're the greatest of all time, if I'm the owner of the team, I would rather feel comfortable losing with my superstar taking a shot than with my 6-man, my 7-man, or my role player taking a shot. And that's just me. But again, in certain moments, your star player or the GOAT, he's not looking to pass the ball. Again, yes, Jordan has passed the ball in situations. But for the most part, if you go into a game-winning shot, the only way Jordan is going to give that ball up, if there's no complete lane to the basket, if there's no way to get a shot off, if there's no visible daylight, and it's just we doubling, tripling, and we got to get the ball out your hand, that type of thing. And he's going to pass as a last resort. LeBron, a lot of times, passes as part of the play. And that's one thing that I don't like, is when I see games early in his career, I seen situations where it was almost like the play was drawn up for LeBron, and then you had players rolling and shooters spotting up, and it was almost like he's automatically looking for the guy to pass to. It's an assist, and it counts for a make or a win if the ball goes in. But I'm just saying, if you're the GOAT, you're the greatest of all time, you got to live with a lot more of those shots, and it can't just be when the game's tied. So clutch factor is definitely one of the reasons why I say the LeBron versus Jordan argument is one-sided. So that's what that is. Another factor that we kind of fail to realize when we get into this argument with LeBron James versus Michael Jordan is LeBron James, as great as he is, as athletic as he is, and as physically imposing as he is, he's never really been a shutdown defender at any position, meaning from he plays the passing lanes hard, well, he runs the floor hard, he gets tip balls and gets a lot of steals and transitions, that type of thing. But as far as him taking the initiative to be a shutdown defender, I've never seen LeBron be that. And again, the type of physical specimen that he is, you would think it would be way easier for him to dominate the defensive end just like the offensive end. And that was just one of the things that kind of set Jordan apart. Jordan was all NBA, Defensive Player of the Year multiple times. I mean, like, he took it upon himself to guard the best player of the team on any night, all while giving him 35. So I just feel like a lot of times, while LeBron is not a liability on defense, he just hasn't took his defensive pressure to the level where I feel like watching him, he has the ability to stop other great players. And that's kind of where he differs from a Michael Jordan, because I've saw Mike grab the best player and strap up and go to work. And that's one of the things as an NBA player or elite NBA player, the evolution of your game. We all know you're going to score on offense, you're going to get buckets, but who can you stop? Are you going to stop anybody, or are we just going to score back and forth? And I think Jordan had the mentality where I'm going to do what I do, but I'm going to stop you from doing what you do. And I just never really seen that from LeBron. Like, LeBron's defensive concept basically comes from IQ. He's a very smart basketball player. So his team defense concept is awesome. He know where to be. He's great at backside chase down blocks. He's going to slide over and stop the drive. But as far as one-on-one, him checking the best player on the other team, play night in and night out, that's something that I would have loved to see him do more over the course of his career. And it makes a difference because, again, there's no reason why he's not Defensive Player of the Year. Those type of things should be icing on the cake for somebody where the offensive side comes so easy. The next progression is to kind of take the challenge to become a defensive player. And that's kind of what I've seen Jordan do that a lot of players really didn't do. Okay, so let's get to the elephant in the room. I know the biggest thing that most people say about LeBron that tarnishes his legacy of being the greatest of all time is probably the whole teaming up aspect with going to play with Dwayne Wade down in Miami. A lot of cats around the league now doing the same thing, so this is not even really specifically a negative towards LeBron James. This is just more ammunition towards my argument as to why I think Jordan being able to be at the level that he was at, he didn't go out and team up with other people. Early in his career with Oakley, Pippen, these players were drafted. Kukoc, drafted. You're talking about the main pieces that was imported from somewhere else was Dennis Rodman and Ron Harper. Ron Harper coming from Cleveland, Dennis Rodman coming from Pistons or wherever else he came from, after he left the Pistons. But my point is, to get to the stage where Jordan was at, where they were winning championship after championship after championship, he built a team of young players, rookies, and some older vets. Mostly the bigs were older vets. But he built the team in a culture around losing. After they got tired of losing, they had to figure out a way to win and get past that hump in Detroit. And around that time, New York was starting to be a rival. And, of course, getting to the West and being able to compete with the teams out West, he had to build a team or have his team grow to get to that point. They didn't go out and get other players. So although I respect LeBron James making the decision to go out to Miami, who wouldn't want to go to Miami? But at the same time, when it comes to winning a championship, I seen Jordan win 6 with guys that was there from the start. If Jordan was to team up with anybody else in the league, it wouldn't even have been fair. Like, even for LeBron James to go team up with Miami, he still had to battle in some conference finals and in the finals against some good teams. If Jordan was to team up with anybody in the league that was a so-called superstar, it just wouldn't have been fair. Like, outside of Pippen, and I say Pippen because Pippen was drafted by the Bulls. He was somebody that in his first 2-3 seasons, he wasn't a rotation guy. around his third or fourth season is when he started getting good minutes, and he started kind of buying into the philosophy of how the Bulls were operating. He found his niche playing with Jordan and where he could get buckets at and how he could be special, and he just took it from there. But that was somebody who became a superstar, but he wasn't a superstar at the beginning of the process. So what I'm saying to you is, can you imagine a Patrick Ewing going to play with, or Karl Malone going to play with a Michael Jordan and a Scottie Pippen? It would have just been crazy. So again, no team to me would have been able to compete. The series wouldn't have been close. But even with LeBron James going to Miami to team up with D Wade and Chris Bosh, a lot of those series came down to some big shots from Ray Allen and some big shots from LeBron and some big shots from Dwayne Wade. It was close. It wasn't just, I'm that good that if I go play with somebody else, we just head and shoulders above the competition. But with Jordan, if you was to take that same scenario and place him with other superstars around the league, you could easily say dynasty wouldn't even be the word for it. It would be just crazy. If you think 6 championships with his Bulls team would have been crazy, imagine him playing with somebody like a Patrick Ewing. It wouldn't even be fair. Like, basketball wouldn't have been fun to watch. So that's the biggest knock for me when I say Jordan over LeBron, is because there was no teaming up. Everything was done kind of organically, and they grinded out. They got beat up, and they had to figure out a way to get over or get past the powerhouses, and they figured it out. The next reason why I feel like Jordan is the greatest of all time simply boils down to stats. One thing that a lot of people don't really realize is LeBron's going to play close to 20 seasons. I mean, that's just a fact. Jordan is probably in the range of 13 good seasons. But not to mention, he took off 2 seasons to retire. And then he had the injury season in his sophomore year where he didn't play most of the season. So that's 3 whole seasons. Based on his averages that he normally would score, I'm talking 29, 30 points a game, especially back in his younger days in the 80s when he was just scoring the ball crazy, but they was losing. You easily talking about 10,000 points being added to his point total, because on average, he scored about 2,800 points a season. You talk about 3,000 points for 3 years that's missing from his point totals, and not to mention the year that they won their last championship in '96, most people believe he had another year in the tank, and just based on physically how he looked, he could have played another year. I mean, it may have been a down year. They may have not won a championship, but I actually think they probably could have contended for another championship. And even if he get 25, he was going to shoot enough and get to the basket enough to get 25 points a game. I mean, you really talking about somebody who left 10,000 points on the table as far as career totals. You go from scoring 34, 35,000 points a game over the course of a career to actually scoring close to 45,000 points. That makes a big difference, especially when you look at the next nearest person, and like Karl Malone, he played 20 seasons. We talking about somebody like Jordan who played 13 good seasons. So possibly in the area of 15 to 16 seasons, Jordan could have shattered the scoring record, but he took 1 year off, of course, for injury, 2 years off because of the retirement. And the year they won the championship, he went back into retirement instead of defending the championship. So you're talking 3 or 4 good seasons where he would have put up some numbers. So when we talk about stats and we talk about LeBron James leading in a lot of statistical categories, and we talk about him being the greatest and him probably breaking the scoring title, I mean, that's a given. If you play 20 healthy seasons and you putting up the numbers, or you're on a team where the ball is in your hand most of the time and you're taking 20-plus shots a game, you should be in contention to break the scoring record. Now, the respectable thing about LeBron is the assist totals and the rebound totals are also off the charts. So if anything, when people talk about scoring, I don't really get too excited about the scoring piece. My thing about LeBron really is being able to score at that high level, but being able to have the assists and have the rebounds that he have. That's really the special sauce right there. So again, I would give Jordan an edge in stats, specifically referring to scoring, not necessarily referring to rebounds and assists, but just as much as of an efficient scorer that LeBron James tends to be, if you look at the complete picture of what Jordan could possibly have if he played the same amount of seasons, it's kind of off the charts. You would be looking at some astronomical numbers. So that's another reason why I think LeBron James is, although he's great, he kind of falls short to me when comparing him to Michael Jordan. So you know this part of the argument was coming, man. Right now, the biggest reason, or one of the biggest reasons why I feel like the LeBron James era can't compete with the Michael Jordan era, or LeBron James is not better than Michael Jordan, is because, I mean, right now the league's soft. And let's be honest, we can break it down into statistical terms to kind of give you a view of how that matters. So, for example, we all know the physicality of the NBA back in the day when Michael Jordan was playing was way different. I mean, Chuck Daly, Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, all these players came out and basically said, listen, we had Jordan rules. Jordan was not to score. Jordan was not to get easy baskets or layups and blah, blah, blah. And not to mention just the league in general. You know, it was more hand checking. You know, it was a lot more grabbing. It was a lot more pushing, bumping on screens. There was a lot more physical contact allowed, shooting jumpers. They didn't have personal space. Like when you shot a jumper, your hand was part of the ball and you weren't allowed to land properly. It was just a lot of rough play. Again, so take a referee now who refs NBA games and you have them watch film of old basketball, let's say from the late 80s. So what happens is, based on how the game is called now, you can easily see 6 to 7 fouls being committed against somebody like Michael Jordan that were not called, right? So that's 11 to 12 free throws a game. So a person like Jordan, he good for at least 9 of those free throws. 9 out of 12, that's a decent number. Some nights he gonna get high. Some nights he may get lower than that. But you're talking about 9 additional points or 9 to 10 points every night. And this is like on average, because you can grab any tape and I'm pretty sure the same fouls occurred game in and game out. So a player like Michael Jordan, who already scored 35,000 points, imagine getting an extra 10 points a game. So your career scoring average goes from 30 points a game to 40 points a game. You do the math on that. Simple math. You're talking about almost a third more points. So you go from scoring 34,000 to actually scoring a 45, 46, 47,000 just simply off of the way the game is being called. Then again, I can't give you exact numbers, but I'm just giving you our estimate on how many fouls was missed back in the day, or not even missed, how many fouls were not called back in the day compared to how they're called now. So I got somebody like Michael Jordan who's averaging 30 points, 32, 35 points a game in that climate when the defense was that tough. And then you got players in today's game who may struggle to get 25 points a game or get 27. I mean, you see somebody like KD score 29 points a game and we like, man, the dude lighting the league up. As soft as this league is, 29 points, yeah, that's a great accomplishment. But you had cats like Jordan averaging 35 points a game playing in the climate of defense that he played in back in the day. So realistically speaking, his point total, if he played today, would be astronomically higher. And that's just using simple math. I mean, any referee, anybody who knows basketball can easily watch some of the games and just see how many fouls that are fouls now that weren't called for Michael Jordan. So that level right there alone just tells you, for somebody to put up those type of numbers in that type of climate on a consistent basis, they're going to be able to do as good or even better. And I'm assuming better in this climate, because this climate is easier. You can't touch people. They got to be able to land. Can't impede their progress. You can't touch their hand after the ball is released. Like, it's a lot of calls that makes the game more exciting and actually adds for higher scoring totals. But again, if that's the case, you play somebody like Jordan in this era and the numbers would be off the charts. Okay, so look, I don't want it to make, it seem like I'm bashing LeBron, because dude is actually one of my favorite players to watch, one of my all-time favorite players. But I just wanted to kind of put this in perspective because there's a lot of kids or a lot of people who maybe teenagers or maybe, in their early 20s who swear by LeBron, but they didn't get a chance to see Jordan. I was blessed to come from an era where I saw all of the Jordan phase and I seen the LeBron James phase as well. So what happens is I got a viewpoint from both sides. And one of the things that most people or most millennials don't have going in their favor is they didn't get to see Jordan. They seen some posters of him doing some layups and dunks and not really getting the full grasp of how transcendent his game was and how he really changed things up. So there's a lot of things that I see in LeBron's game that I don't necessarily see in Jordan, or I saw in Jordan's game that I don't necessarily see in LeBron's game. And again, one of the things that makes LeBron special was also one of the things that I think kind of makes LeBron not average, but can make LeBron stats and things appear better than they are. He's very ball dominant. And that right there, what I mean by ball dominant is if you look at the shot clock and LeBron will bring the ball up the court. And don't get me wrong, there's other players that's ball dominant as well. Chris Paul, he has his moments. Harden has his moments. Damian Lillard has his moments. It's not just LeBron, but I'm just using that as an example to show a lot of times when you have the ball in your hand, you can dictate everything that you want to happen. LeBron will have the ball for majority of the shot clock and wait for the right time to pass the ball, which is kind of different from how Jordan got his buckets. A lot of y'all don't know the Bulls thing was the triangle offense. Triangle offense, the bigs touch the ball a lot. First in the triangle offense, you get your guys cutting back door, you get the opposite cutter going, and you kick back out, blah, blah, blah. He might come out, set a screen. It was a science to the offense. It wasn't just you dribble the ball one-on-one up the court and you just try to get a one-on-one bucket, and if you can't get the bucket, you kick out last minute to somebody that's standing around the perimeter. That's basically how LeBron plays. And again, I would love to see LeBron playing an offense where it was movement. Like I said, I would love to see him more of a slasher for his career. But he started that whole point guard mentality in high school, and so I figured coming into the NBA, that was basically going to be the way he played. But I would have loved to see LeBron James as more of a slasher throughout his career, somebody catching alleys versus throwing them. Again, he's very ball dominant, which allows for yourself to take the perfect shots or get the best shot opportunities, get the most shot opportunities, allow for yourself to get the most assists. Because, of course, if you drive into the basket and they cut you off and you got 4 shooters spread along the three-point line, some of them shots going to fall eventually. So my point is, with Jordan was getting buckets in the floor of the game more. And anybody who says different does not know basketball. Jordan did not isolate on top of the key for 20 seconds. I'm sorry. You have to show me some video if that happened, because again, rarely did you see that. Jordan was getting his shots. He's using that triangle offense to get where he needed to be, whether they kicking it out to him, whether he was posting on the elbow or he was backing a smaller guard down and posting him up on a low block and doing his turnaround or fadeaway, or whether he was just coming down streaking to the basket. He did not have to dribble the ball or kill the shot clock in order to get effective possession. He was very efficient at scoring. And that leads me into my next argument, just overall skill level. I mean, I think as great as LeBron is, sometimes LeBron can look like he lacks certain skills. And what do I mean by lack certain skills? The biggest thing that jumps off the chart for me for LeBron is footwork. When he handles the ball, LeBron James, he's a north and south player. So for what that means is from end to end, his movements are fast. He doesn't do too much east and west ball handling moves, or should I say they're not fluid. Like he don't bend his knees enough at the point of attack, meaning when I'm going through my legs or I'm doing my in and out and I'm about to break my defender down, my feet has to move at a certain speed to turn the corner, basically be able to turn the corner. And that's something that he's always been lacking to me. When I watch him play, he plays too upright. From Jordan's perspective, a lot of people think about Jordan dunking and shooting fadeaways and don't realize when Jordan came into the league, he played a lot of point guard. What that says is he handled the ball a lot. Now, for those who don't know, Jordan had handles. I can show you, a matter of fact, I don't even need to show you. YouTube, Google the rookie years of Jordan or the second year, the third year, and see how much ball handling he displayed. I mean, Jordan's put on ball handling clinics before, and that was one of the knocks on Jordan early in his career before he evolved. He was dribbling too much, or he was actually handling the ball in traffic to make shots tougher than they needed to be. So if you look at Jordan, Jordan had a very sneaky high-level handle. He could move east and west with the ball very well. His north and south burst was one of the best. His first step was tough. So again, a lot of people think Jordan just jumpers and dunks. And if you look at early Jordan did a lot of ball handling and did a lot of crafty things with the ball, going east and west to get past his defender to be able to get into a lot of his shots. And that's where I say the craftiness, the footwork, the ability. And another thing is just the ability to finish in traffic. If you notice from LeBron doesn't finish in traffic very well unless it's a dunk. If you stop LeBron James at the point of attack, a lot of times he settles for jumpers or he's going to make a kick-out pass. If you stop Jordan at the point of attack when he's in the lane, guess what? He's going to give you some type of acrobatic layup. He's going to give you some type of spin out or alternate pivot spin, and he's going to make sure he finds a way to get the ball in the basket. And with LeBron doesn't have that feature in his game. He's like a full head of steam type of player. He's going to drive, and if he's lucky to turn the corner on you, he's going to attack you full speed. Once he gets around that hip, he's going to try to dunk or get to the basket hard. He has very few times where he's acrobatic or crafty in the air. You may never see him do too many up and under moves or moves where he's double clutching or moves where he's weaving between people to make layups or make tough layups. A lot of his shots are either he's going to get all the way to the basket for a dunk, or if you stop him, he's going to do a kick out to a shooter. And that's one of the things I always said about LeBron is his touch and his ability to finish around the basket without dunking. It was never on display. But Jordan had a certain finesse about his game. He could finish along the basket. He could dunk. If you stop him, he had a second move and a third move, and all else fails, he's fading away, and you're not going to block that. So again, that's where I say someone like Jordan was more skilled. Last but not least, man, I think the overall impact of a Michael Jordan on the game and on the culture is a lot more significant than LeBron James. I say that for a few reasons. The main reason is I don't see myself wearing LeBron James shoes in 15 years. And that's not a shot. It's like the Jordan sneaker or the Jordan brand has become a cultural type of imprint, something, along the lines of how we wear Timberlands in the wintertime or something along the lines of how we wear certain types of jeans. Or Jordan now is turning into a lifestyle brand versus just particular to sports or particular to basketball. And that's one of the reasons or one of the ways I feel like he's transcended just the sports boundaries. I mean, you're talking about somebody who I still remember the Hanes commercials. I still remember the Wheaties boxes, and I still remember all the stuff he did, like Space Jam. I showed my son Space Jam not too long ago. He's like 2, and he sat there and watched it, and it still sticks. So again, I just think culturally, LeBron James is going to be forever remembered. Don't get it twisted. He's not somebody that's regular. He's not a regular athlete. Dude is one of the greats, but I'm just trying to give you a clear picture of why I think Michael, his legacy and the reason why he's the greatest separates himself from LeBron. Like, again, LeBron's tough, one of my favorite players of all time. But just some of the things that Jordan was able to do coming out of college, and the shot that he made in the NCAA tournament that kind of got his name on the line, to the shots he made over Craig Elo, to dunk on John Starks and Patrick Ewing, to the flu game. There's a lot of memories that when you see Jordan, you remember. But one of the things that stick out to me about LeBron is I don't remember too many plays. It's not too many iconic plays in LeBron James' package. I mean, I do remember a lot of plays, a lot of games, but the one or two iconic plays, it's just hard to remember him, having those moments to where you like, man, that right there defines LeBron. But with Jordan, I can count on both hands some plays or some moments where it's like, man, that right there is why he's Jordan. And I take that back, because I do remember, aside from the buzzer beaters from this year with LeBron, I do remember the shot that he made in Detroit, fading away to the deep three-pointer to win that game. But again, that was to win that game and not the series. With Jordan, some of his stuff that he did, the 6 3-pointers against Portland where everybody say he wasn't a three-point shooter and he was just like, man, I don't know, they just going in. So again, a lot of stuff with Jordan is cultural, man. It's like beyond basketball. It's beyond just playing and winning. So again, I didn't want to mention too much about championships, too much about finals losses or finals appearances, because that's not what this argument is about. We got 2 great players, and both of them are going to be top 5, possibly, I would say top 3 all time easily, but it's just a different level of greatness, with Michael Jordan. And that's not a knock on LeBron James, because he's a special player in his own right, and there probably won't be another LeBron James caliber player with the ability to do all the things that LeBron can do. But part of Jordan's legacy is the fact that he lifted basketball to a point where it was something that everybody was locked in on. Everybody wanted to be like Mike, and that's just kind of what it boils down to. We appreciate you for tuning in to the Mainly Unbiased podcast. Be sure to hit up Facebook and add yourself to the group, and be on the lookout for more interesting podcast topics. Also, you can check us out on Facebook or anywhere else podcasts are being played. Make sure you leave your comments below. We know a lot of people are going to feel a lot different than I do, so I definitely want to hear the commentary, and I look forward to chopping it up with you.